How we doing, folks? This session of the Minnesota Senate Committee on Agriculture, Veterans, Broadband, and Rural Development for Monday, March 23rd is now in session. How you doing? It's great to see everybody here. We have a jam-packed agenda, but before we get to the actual bills, we have a great opportunity to say hi to some young leaders and cool people who are learning about leading and being cool through the Farm Bureau. So my friends, could you guys come up and say hi, please? Folks, if you could please, before you speak, just, state your full name for the record, and then tell us a little bit about why you're here and what you're doing and why you're awesome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brianne Arneson. I go by Bree as well. Thank you, Chair Putnam and committee for having us today. So I'm representing Lac-qui-Parle County with the Ag Lead Institute through Minnesota Farm Bureau. It's the first year that they've done this program. Opportunity for us to gain some leadership skills and kind of learn about what goes on. I am from, like I said, Lac-qui-Parle County. I'm an ag and business banker for United Prairie Bank in Madison. I don't farm in Minnesota, but I do have a small cattle operation that I own and operate out of Southeast Kansas, which is where I'm originally from. So thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. My name is Ellie Trout, and I am from Itasca County. I'm the fourth generation of my family to farm beef cattle and sheep. I'm also a sophomore at the University of Wisconsin River Falls, studying broad area agriculture.
Good afternoon, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. My name is Tracy Wachowski from McLeod County. I live in Hutchinson, and I have a small farm-to-table business, and I'm also an agricultural educator at the high school level.
Good afternoon, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. My name is Josh Yates. I live in Kunesh County, and I'm a first-generation sheep farmer. I also work off the farm for a custom fabrication shop where I work full-time.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Jay Zuri. I live in Blue Earth County. I am a fourth-generation farmer where we farm corn and soybeans.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Jessie Bester. I live in Hampton, which is in southern Dakota County, where my family farms beef cattle, corn, soybeans, sweet corn, peas, alfalfa, and wheat, and we did recently do 2 years with potatoes. However, I do have an off-the-farm job as an agriculture educator and FFA advisor in Pine Island. And we're here today to explain what LeadAg Institute is. So I'm going to go into that. The LeadAg Institute is a new program created by the Minnesota Farm Bureau to equip member leaders with the skills they need to advocate effectively for agriculture and to serve as strong leaders at the community, state, or national level. Over this year-long experience, we take part in leadership training, policy development, agriculture literacy, and hands-on learning that help us better understand our own leadership styles and advocacy potential. During our session today in St. Paul, we are focusing specifically on how to share our stories, communicate clearly, and build meaningful connections with legislators. We're also seeing firsthand policy development and action through conversations, engagement, and attending committee meetings like this one. As members of an organization like Farm Bureau, this experience matters. Farm Bureau's nonpartisan grassroots work represents the real experiences of farmers and ranchers all across the state. Our policy positions come directly from members and the issues that impact them, their families, their farms, and their communities. This is why we value Farm Bureau.
We also value our relationships with our legislators from both sides of the aisle. We work with committee members like you. Agriculture depends on bipartisan cooperation to keep our farms and ranches viable for future generations of leaders like us. And we all have been and continue to be examples of how both sides of the aisles can work together to get work done. Minnesota Farm Bureau represents over 30,000 farm families statewide. And tomorrow, many of those members will be at the Capitol for our annual Day on the Hill. We invite each of you to join us as we celebrate National Agriculture Day and the contributions of agriculture to Minnesota's economy. We look forward to continuing these conversations and working alongside you on policies that strengthen agriculture. On behalf of the LeadAg Institute and Minnesota Farm Bureau, thank you. Thank you, Chair Putnam and members of the committee for your service and the opportunity to share our experience with you today. Thanks.
Thanks, you guys, for being here and for your advocacy and for your commitment to your own success in forwarding Minnesota agriculture. Members, do we have questions or comments for our friends here? Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't have a question, but just a comment. I want to thank these folks for coming in today and explaining what the Farm Bureau's Leading Ag Institute, what that pertains to and stuff. We do appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and appreciate you folks being in the ag industry. Thank you.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, I would just say dittos to what Senator Dames said, and to all of you young Farm Bureau members, thank you for taking time. Many of us represent rural parts of Minnesota. We think it's God's country out there, but we also know how important agriculture, livestock and crop farming is, and some other niche markets, all part of agriculture, and we can't take it for granted. So it's important for you to be leaders, stepping up, informing the legislature and being active, because otherwise things can happen to farmers and regulations can come in well-intended or not well-intended, and just being a voice and being active is going to be what's going to help make sure agriculture stays strong for the future. And with all of your presentations in this short time, I can tell every one of you is going to be a success.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. Members, any other comments or questions? I want to say thank you again to you all for being here, but also I think we should take a second to appreciate the Farm Bureau for creating this organization in the first place. And a special thank you to Mr. Hunter Peterson, who is here bringing them around today. So thanks again, folks. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, good clap. Why not? All good. Felt right. So members and members of the public, we are in, Senator Westrom.
I just wanted the public to know the background of Mr. Peterson was a little sketchy, but I think he's on the right path now. So.
Senator Westrom,
and you finally got his name down.
we always outgrow our teachers, and hopefully are better than them, and Hunter quite clearly is in that sense. Members, very quickly, we have 6 bills coming up. They are all important bills for us to discuss, but we have a very, very strict time constraint today. So individual presenters, you are restricted to 2 minutes. That's been clear and communicated to you. We also have some bills where we are clearly have folks who are in favor or against those bills. Those time limits have been communicated to you and to your advocates. You must maintain those requirements, or you will hear this song. He will rickroll you if you don't stop speaking when you're supposed to speak.
No, I won't.
She's just going to give you a dirty look. So please, folks, let's be on time, be as efficient as we can in our testimony. Our first bill that we have before us is Senate File 4160. Senator Hoffman, the prohibition on the sale and use of paraquat dichloride. Senator Hoffman, to your bill, if you would, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. In 2 minutes, seriously? I don't know if John
3 for you, my friend.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm honored to present Senate File 4160, and I would probably want to get Roberta and Lisa to come on up while I'm talking, since we're on a time thing here. I'm honored to present Senate File 4160, which prohibits the sale and use of paraquat. Paraquat is a widely used herbicide known to be highly toxic. Studies reveal that the paraquat that kills neurons leads to cell damage in brains on humans and animals. Believe it or not, there's still studies that go on in laboratories. They use paraquat to see on animals to see how they could possibly cure Parkinson's disease. You can't make this one up. That what does is that increases the risk of development of Parkinson's. Paraquat is a toxic that contains the chemical. They use a skull and crossbone warning and declare that fatal if swallowed or inhaled. These pesticides can poison individuals even if it touches, irritate, or cut skin, and there is no antidote. We must protect people in the United States, I believe, Mr. Chair, and more than 70 countries have banned the use of paraquat including the European Union and China, to protect the health of their citizens. So in countries that ban paraquat, agricultural productivity has not been harmed. In fact, yields in some countries have increased after the ban. So with that, Mr. Chair, I have Roberta Never and Lisa Erickson. And there's some more that are coming too.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Roberta Niver, and I live in Burnsville. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at 43 while raising 3 young boys, 6, 9, and 12. I have no genetic risk factors. My doctors believe my diagnosis was influenced by environmental exposure. I'm 67 now and have lived with the disease over a third of my life. I may never know the exact cause, but I do know the impact. Parkinson's is a cruel, progressive brain disease that slowly takes your independence, how you move, speak, and live each day. It also affects the people who care for you. I share my story because you have an opportunity today. Even if it's a chance to prevent another family from going through this, it's worth taking action. We know there's a chance because of decades of research show a connection between paraquat exposure and Parkinson's disease. I urge you to support this bill, to ban this toxic chemical and protect all Minnesotans.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nyra. I very much appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Ms. Erickson, if you could please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Lisa Erickson. Good afternoon, Chair Putnam and honorable committee members. My name is Lisa Erickson, and I live in Edina. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's a year and a half ago. At the time, I was a senior vice president at U.S. Bank, a career I had worked decades to build, and one that allowed me to share my expertise on CNBC, Fox Business, The Wall Street Journal, and other platforms. Because of my diagnosis, I was forced to retire earlier than I expected. A Parkinson's diagnosis changes everything: your career, your independence, and the future you thought you had. The human and economic cost is real. At 21,000 Parkinson's patients in Minnesota alone, and an annual Minnesota economic cost of $1 billion. Today, I serve as a board member of the Parkinson's Foundation Minnesota and Dakota's chapter, and I advocate for fellow patients and families facing this disease every day. I'm asking you to take action so that others don't face the same reality. The cost of inaction is real and impacts many. Please support SF 4160 to protect people and to ban paraquat in Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Erickson. Mr. Kelm? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson.
I think I'm next. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Lynn Johnson, and I live in Apple Valley. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's when I was 45. At that time, I was building my career and raising my 2 young sons, and I never imagined that this would be my future. Parkinson's changes everything, not just for you, but for your entire family. Every day you lose something you once could do before, and Parkinson's is like a process of grieving over and over again all these losses. In my family, I'm not the only person diagnosed with Parkinson's. My grandfather, who was a farmer, had Parkinson's, and my mom, 5 years ago, was also diagnosed. And seeing this pattern is just something I can't ignore. My mom and I participated in a genetic study that showed we don't carry the genes that are linked to Parkinson's. And we don't know for sure about my grandfather, but we don't think he did either. The one thing we all had in common was our time on the farm. And that stays with you, and it makes me wonder a lot about what could have been prevented, if this could have been prevented, and if there was something around or something we didn't even think twice about at the time that caused our Parkinson's. The science connecting paraquat to Parkinson's disease is clear, and Parkinson's is banned already in more than 70 countries. You have a choice. You can protect people in Minnesota and not paraquat. And by protecting the people, you may prevent other families from receiving diagnoses like my family has. I urge you to support this bill and to ban paraquat in Minnesota.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mark Kelm, and I live in Golden Valley. I speak in favor of banning paraquat. I come before you today not only as a citizen, but as a witness. At 38 years old, I started my journey with young-onset Parkinson's disease, a progressive and curable condition that has reshaped every part of my life. It has taken ease from my movements, strength from my voice, and certainty from my future. And yet I am here, because what we do in this moment matters. I grew up working on my uncle's farm in southeast Minnesota, and later served in the United States Army. I believe in responsibility. I believe in service. And I believe that when we know something is causing harm, we have a duty to act. We have faced moments like this before. There was a time when dangerous chemicals were called necessary, when their risks were minimized, their warnings dismissed. But history has taught us a hard truth. Progress is not measured by how long we hold on to harmful practices, but how quickly we have the courage to change them. Today, we face the same test. The science is clear. Paraquat is a powerful neurotoxin. Repeated studies have shown that exposure significantly increases the risk of Parkinson's disease. This is not speculation. This is evidence. And around the world, nations have responded. More than 70 have already banned it to protect their people. So let us ask ourselves, what kind of future do we choose? Do we wait for more diagnoses, more suffering, more voices like mine? Or do we lead with clarity, with conviction, and with care for those who will come after us? For the measure of leadership is not found in avoiding difficult decisions, but in rising to meet them. I cannot change the path that brought me here, but together you can change the path for others. Let this be the moment when Minnesota chooses foresight over hindsight, when we choose prevention over regret, when we choose to stand not for what is easy, but for what is right. Ban paraquat. Protect the health of our beautiful communities. And let it be said that when the time came to act, you did not hesitate. You led the way, as Minnesota often does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelm.
Good afternoon, Chair Putnam, Vice Chair Kupec, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Senate File 4160, which would prohibit the use and sale of the herbicide paraquat in Minnesota. My name is Grant Iver, and I am a Senior State Government Relations Manager for the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, a Minnesotan, and a very proud son to Roberta Niver, who you just heard testify. I want to first acknowledge the Parkinson's community in the room with us today, especially the courageous individuals who have testified and shared their stories. Their presence here today speaks to the urgency of this issue. Today, more than 1 million Americans are living with Parkinson's disease, including over 21,000 Minnesotans. With roughly 90,000 new diagnoses each year, it has become the fastest growing neurological disease in the world. And while age and genetics matter, research shows that exposure to toxic chemicals like paraquat can significantly increase a person's risk for the disease in their lifetime. Decades of research have consistently linked paraquat to Parkinson's. An often cited study found that individuals who use paraquat were more than 2.5 times more likely to develop Parkinson's compared to those using other herbicides. And people living near where it's applied also face significantly increased risk to the disease. But the science goes even further. Scientists routinely use paraquat in laboratory settings to induce Parkinson's-like damage in rodents to study the disease and test new treatments, because it destroys the same dopamine-producing neurons affected in Parkinson's disease. If paraquat is used to model the disease in research, It raises serious questions about why it continues to be used in Minnesota or anywhere. More than 70 countries, including the entire European Union, Brazil, and China, have responded to the decades of research by universities and governments around the world by banning paraquat to protect their people. This is not a choice between agriculture and health. It's about protecting people, especially farmers in our rural communities. On behalf of the Michael J. Fox Foundation and the Parkinson's community we are so proud to represent, I urge you to support this bill and ban paraquat to protect the health of all Minnesotans. I'm joined today by my colleague Grant Cope. He's the Environmental Health Policy Lead at the Michael J. Fox Foundation, who will testify next and be able to answer any technical questions from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nerva. Mr. Cope, you have about a minute, if you could, please make your comments as brief as possible, but also please stick around to answer some questions if you wouldn't mind.
Will do, Chair. Paraquat is designed to destroy. It is a burned-down herbicide that uses an oxidative process, a form of combustion, to destroy plant cells. It does the same thing in the brain. Think about a match being lit in the brain. Paraquat hijacks electrons from mitochondria, creating toxic molecules, think peroxide in the brain, that can damage neurons. Mitochondrial dysfunction is a hallmark of Parkinson's. Research shows that immune cells that are chronically activated by Parkinson's that control movement can build up harmful misshapen proteins in the area of the brain that does motor control. This is another hallmark of Parkinson's. Importantly, paraquat persists for weeks in the body, so this is not a one-time injury. It is an ongoing assault. The threat of Parkinson's exposure is also far greater than once believed. Just in 2024, industry data shows paraquat, when applied to plants, is 4,000 times more volatile than we've believed for decades. In 2025, EPA found that it could travel 2.7 miles away from application sites. The question is no longer what we know. The question is whether we're willing to act on it to protect people.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Next, we have Mr. Helgen and Mr. Kartz, if you could please come up. And members, so you're aware, we're going to go through all the testimony and then open ourselves up for conversation and questions. So hopefully all our testifiers will stick around. Mr. Helgen, if you would, please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Lee Helgen, I'm the Executive Director with Minnesota Crop Production Retailers. We represent the ag retailers and co-ops that would be selling herbicides, pesticides to our grower customers. So we work with this product quite regularly. We also have the custom applicators who would apply that product if it were being used. As you know, paraquat is a restricted use product that does require additional safety training to be used safely in the field. So our folks who are trained licensed applicators would be well equipped to be able to apply this product according to the label restrictions. As you have heard from folks, this product has been under stringent review by the EPA for several decades. And what the EPA back in 2024 found was that the weight of the evidence was insufficient to support a causal association, and that it also found that it does not cause Parkinson's. So the EPA has reviewed this and has made that determination. And then in 2025, the EPA maintained the registration for us to make it useful and available. So the product has been reviewed thoroughly, and then the pesticidal use is not a causal of Parkinson's. So the product is out there, it's licensed, it's registered. Our folks that apply it would apply it safely. And there's actually a good, strong use case for having paraquat available, particularly as we think about some of the conservation and no-till activities. We're having paraquat available to do burn down to help then support the cash crop is a good thing, because we're looking at increasing the amount of cover crop and no-till acres in the state. Additionally, we find that paraquat can be very useful if you have very tough or weed-resistant that are becoming resistant to different herbicides, to have this as a tool. It's not necessarily a primary tool, it's not used in huge quantities, but it's definitely a tool that should be available. And with that, I'd like to have Mr. Cardes make a few comments.
Mr. Cardes, if you please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Yes, Chairman Putnam, members of the committee, thank you very much for the honor to testify in front of the committee on House or Senate Bill 4160. My name is TJ Cardis. I grew up and still live in William Prairie, Minnesota. I'm here to give testimony on this bill banning paraquat. I'm opposed to this bill for several reasons. One is I work for a nationwide cover crop seed company. In Minnesota, we need tools in our toolbox to terminate cover crops and resistant weeds that are starting to get out of control in our fields, making our farmers not as profitable as they can be. The benefits to growers is it's a cost-effective tool that used under tough conditions can terminate weeds and cover crops. As we apply these products, we have a lot more safety equipment in place than we've had in the past years. Gloves, respirators, goggles, direct induction equipment, better cab filters. We have a lot of these things to ensure safety of operators and operation people around this product. If we want conservation to move forward, we need these products to ensure termination so we do not hurt the cash crop. I want to ensure that we keep using cover crops to remove nitrate and possibly a whole list of other conservation reasons. If this product will ensure that we can still use overwintering cover crops without forcing more tillage or termination using other types of herbicides that could be more harmful than the paraquat that we're talking about. We need more tools in the toolbox. This is one of them. Please do not take something away from us that we're trying to utilize to help clean up the environment. Thank you for allowing me to testify on this bill.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Curtis. Now we'll get to hear from Commissioner Peterson, if you would please, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, members, Tom Peterson, Commissioner for the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. And at this time, the department doesn't have a set position on this. As we consider all the different pieces on this, specifically to the bill, though, I want to, call attention to subdivision 1 as this bill was being put together and everything. I do appreciate, I'm not a big fan of bans, because if you're going to ban something, farmers that need this are going to use something else, and we know what they're going to use. I have an idea, but that's one thing I think we're kind of working through at the moment. But the one thing that this bill does is it doesn't ban it for this year. It starts the ban next year, January 1st, 2027. So farmers have already made a decision this year on what they're planting. Farmers that I've talked to, that this is an important piece for this year. Then next year, on section 2, or subdivision 2, beginning January 1st, 2028, we could still use the stocks then that year, the existing stocks, and then it would be banned, but farmers would have the product, they could use it out. Anytime we're, banning or moving away from a product, that is helpful, that farmers have that piece that they can do. The other piece that we do is the collection and disposal in section 3, so when farmers are done, they may have some of this left over, what happens to that? And so appreciate that being in there. That being said, those dates, if, doing this, moving them out or having them there is always helpful as farmers make decision. I was kind of surprised when this bill came up, and I wasn't sure how many farmers use paraquat, so I went out and asked farmers, asked our staff to pull the numbers, and, not a lot, but we had doubled our use in 2025 from 2024. And as I kind of dug into that more, because I was like, oh, that's interesting. What is it? So at all the meetings I go to, I ask farmers, why is that? And they tell me it's cover crops have problems. I switched to cover crops. I love having cover crops, but the more north you get in the state, it's sometimes harder to terminate certain cover crops like turnips, radishes. This is what I've heard. And they said, paraquat, I have a short amount of time to terminate the cover crop and get in the field. And it's a tool I don't like to use because this is tough stuff, as Mr. Stamper can tell you. But that was a concern. So I just want to bring those up as one other piece I think is interesting. You may have saw Syngenta is moving away from the product, but there are still 24 other companies that are in the off-label part on this. And I think I will leave it at that for now, and Mr. Stamper can add some pieces on that.
Mr. Stamper, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Mr. Chair, Senators, my name is Joshua Stamper. I'm the Division Director of the Pesticide and Fertilizer Management Division in the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. We're responsible for all aspects of ag chemical regulation. We also have safely disposed of about 7 million pounds of waste pesticides over the last 20 years. We have cooperative agreements in 87 counties and one tribal reservation to accept waste pesticides. Our waste pesticide program is ready and completely capable to accept any of the unused paraquat that might be present in the marketplace. Paraquat is an acutely toxic chemical. you've heard several testifiers talk about some of the additional requirements and regulation. I'm simply not aware of any more tightly regulated class of agricultural chemicals besides paraquat. We've known that it's been nasty for a long time, but that being said, certain parts of the country have much greater uses than Minnesota does.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stamper. That's the close of our official testimony. Members, do we have questions for any of the testifiers that we heard today or for the bill's author? Senator Kunesh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a number of questions, and it's probably going to be able to be answered more by like Mr. Helgen or Mr. Stamper. It's more about the toxic characteristics of this stuff. And so I guess my question is, a couple questions is this used mostly on some very specific crops, or can it be used across a wide plethora? Let me ask the questions and then you might be able to answer them all at once. So like, I know that you mentioned turnips and radishes are one of those crops that they're used on. And so then my question was, is this absorbed into the plant and then passed along into the food source that the plant is creating? That's my first question. And then the second question is about how is this disposed of? You were talking about how nasty this product is. So when you do dispose of it, just exactly how does that happen? And I mean, at what point is it no longer such a toxic product?
Mr. Helgen or Mr. Cope?
Maybe I'll take a couple of them and let Josh deal with the waste disposal, since that kind of falls into their realm. So the first one, example of crops. So it tends to be on some of the smaller specialty crops or smaller acre crops where you would want to use this. Some like the dry edible beans would be a good example where you would use a paraquat. What we've often heard and kind of talked about is in a cover crop situation. So if I've applied a cover crop and I need to terminate that in advance of planting the cash crop. So you want to terminate that crop, and the burn down effect of the paraquat would be very effective at that, particularly if you're seeing additional weed pressure in that cover crop that you'd want to terminate. That's where you'd use that. You'd asked about the residual. One of the benefits of this is that there is no soil residuals. So it does break down rather quickly, and that's why it's one of the products that's used there. And then I think on the waste disposal, as I think Mr. Stamper mentioned, there's agreements to deal with waste disposal with all the counties that have some sort of hazardous waste project.
Before we move to you, can I just, one follow-up question. Is this used on any plants that are sold to the public? So if we went into a greenhouse or any of the plants that you might pick up at, grocery stores or side, those side plant and flower sales that we see popping up pretty soon here, is that used on any of those plants that are sold to the public?
Mr. Helgen or Mr. Cope?
I'm not sure I can answer that exactly, because I think in our production agriculture, it wouldn't necessarily be the kinds of crops that are sold right to a farmer's market. Although there are plenty of truck farms out there that do sell to farmers markets and grocery stores. I think the example would be more like the dry beans, or if there was some soybeans or if there were potatoes, that you would want to do a burn down on those vines before you went to harvest to make it easier to harvest. That's where it would be used.
Senator Kunesh.
And then just follow up. So is this sort of comparable to Roundup?
Yes, this would be something that if you used Roundup, but Roundup wasn't taking care of the weeds that are there. Let's say you have some really difficult water hemp that's resistant to your Roundup, you might want to use paraquat to burn that down. And you might use it in combination with other active ingredients to deal with very difficult weed pressures, because it's not a residual, so you put it there when it's already up and standing. And there are certain conditions when paraquat would be more useful, either temperature or moisture condition, that you could not use some of the other herbicides.
Okay, thank you.
Members of the questions.
Disposal.
To the question of disposal, Mr. Stamper, if you wouldn't mind, perhaps that's for you.
Mr. Chair, Senator, I can't give you the exact chemistry about how we do this from a disposal standpoint, but typically what happens is we use an independent contractor that will render the product chemically inert, and then it will be incinerated.
Senator Kunesh?
So maybe not the chemical breakdown of it to make it ineffective, but is this a liquid or is this a powder that you apply liquid to and then spray it on the plants? So like when you take it somewhere to get disposed of, does it go into big tanks? Does it just get dumped on the ground? I mean, physically, how is it disposed of?
Mr. Camper.
Senators, paraquat is a liquid that typically is handled in a 2.5-gallon jug or in a large bulk container. In the process of taking in waste pesticides, what we typically do is we record volumes when they're delivered by a producer to the waste pesticide collection facility. Those containers will be packaged into drums and then covered in an absorbent like neutral sealing material, and then those products are hauled usually by like Clean Harbors. It will be hauled back to another facility where they'll neutralize it and then incinerate it.
Members, one more question from anyone? Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, it's kind of been talked about, but I've been surprised too, as the commissioner said, how many farmers talk about using this as kind of their option for killing cover crops or that. And so I guess to Mr. Helgen maybe, or another testifier, what other options do we have? And I'm kind of surprised. I mean, the cover crop killing is kind of we're planting cover crops to kind of help preserve erosion and groundwater and other things, and then surprised we have to have this chemical to kill them. Are we? What is the old saying? Is the cure worth the prevention, and or is the prevention worth the cure? I guess I should say. And so, what other options do we have for farmers, or would it just be the old-fashioned disking and digging and plowing the fields, or is there some other chemicals that are widely used, and this is just one of those tools in the toolbox?
Excellent questions. Senator Westrom, I think we'll start with Mr. Cope, and then I believe Mr. Karchis might have something to say. We think that Mr. Stamper might have some opinions on this one as well. This will have to be our last question, unfortunately, as I think that Senator Hoffman is demanded somewhere else as well. So let's go. Mr. Cope, please.
Briefly, Chair, thank you very much for the question. There's a professor emeritus at UPenn who's studied weed control for 30 years. He found 8 herbicides that are registered, widely available, cost-effective, and efficacious for fall weed control applications to both corn and soybeans on the market right now. They're also coming out with new herbicides, with new modes of action. So in terms of the tools in the toolbox, it's fully stocked and it's getting bigger.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Mr. Karchis, if you'll please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, for this question. Yes, he is very right with his last statement on there are several tools in the toolbox, but there's times where we get to the point where we're limited on very few due to temperatures, due to time of year, where we need to save that cash crop. And to make us profitable, there's times we have to use it. Do we use it a lot? No, absolutely not. It is a very rarely used herbicide on our farm in southern Minnesota, but we've used it once in the last 15 years. But it was a time we needed it because the rye and the cover crop was getting very big, and we would have not saved our cash crop if we wouldn't have been able to terminate it. There are other ones on the market. Glyphosate is very strong in this use. We could go back to doing some slight tillage, but we gain a lot of problems from doing that stuff too. So as a tool, it is something to be utilized. I use this recommendation. It's behind the glass, and it's break glass in case of emergency. That's when we take that out and we use it. We don't use it on every acre all the time. It is very rarely used. Thank
Very
you.
helpful, Mr. Karchis. Mr. Stamper, did you have an opinion on this as well?
All right, thank you. I'll finish. Stay here.
Senators, what you've heard today is genuinely accurate. Paraquat is not a heavily used chemical in the state of Minnesota. The highest use actually occurred last year, when we saw about 125 to 145,000 pounds of product. Contrasting that with 30 million pounds of glyphosate, this is a relatively minor use product.
Thank you, Mr. Stamper. Senator Hoffman, would you like to make a closing statement?
I do, Mr. Chair and members, and I think I'm gonna bring it back to the reason why I'm here. And great to hear about the types of cover crop, perhaps herbicides, pesticides that are out there. I just want to pull us back, and I'm not a rhetorician like you are, Mr. Chair, so I'm not being rhetorical, but I really want to point out a couple of gaps in some people's comments that the U.S., according to the Environmental Protection Agency, paraquat is widely used. It's highly acutely toxic. Think about that statement. And there's studies, if you look at page 15 of an EPA report that was done in 2021, that validates that statement there, and it says it can kill you, right? And then there's also another study that was done where that it's linked, it's absolutely linked to Parkinson. And if you look at a study that Barbara, I can't remember her last name, I got it, Barbara Delare, and it was about the comparative behavioral and biochemical and pigmentary effects of paraquat, right? It's absolutely in there. And so the research tells us that this is not necessarily a good thing. I think the timelines on here allow us to get set up for something else to be using in there. And specifically, we know that there is money within the Department of Ag. The commissioner said that $14,000, they could absorb that. The other part of that money piece, so there's really not a financial aspect to this. And so I would ask members to please vote this through and send it to the floor. But, Mr. Chair, it is up to you. I guess that's just, but you know, Eric, I do ask everything to go to the floor, just, you know, because John Marty years ago used to teach us about one subject, one matter on the floor, and somewhere along the line, the legislature forgot about that and went for big omnibus bills instead, so. And then again, there's nothing tied to Muskie in this either, so Tory Westrom cannot have any kind of argument in this one.
Well, Senator Hoffman, it could be that the context that Senator Marty is using is from 1847 because he's been here that long.
He's listening now, you know.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair,
the Muskie rebuttal.
I think the Muskie rebuttal, I think I read between the lines, Senator Hoffman, Muskie could not be killed by paraquat. So.
I want to thank Senator Hoffman for working closely with the agency and with the advocates and for the efficiency, but also the spirit of this hearing. This is what we're supposed to do, people. We're supposed to take stuff that's complicated and we're supposed to dive into the details and talk about it. So I very much appreciate the tenor of our conversation today, and Senator Hoffman, your work advocating for this bill, and all of the wonderful people who came here and shared their stories.
Awesome.
Our discussion of this bill will be better because of you. And so that we know this bill will be laid over possible inclusion. And we will continue to talk about it and work on some stuff, but it's looking pretty good. Thank you, Senator Hoffman, for your time.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you. I missed this committee, by the way, just to let you know.
You should. It's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, Senator Putnam, you're here with Senate File 4561. I will hope you use your time wisely. We do have a lot on the docket today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I hope that you have the same ambitions for this bill as I do, since you have the gavel right now. But I believe our hope is to lay this over and to have a deeper discussion about some of these policy provisions on Wednesday, as they will form a big portion of our agricultural policy bill that we'll be discussing at that point. So what we have before us right now are the agriculture policy provision modifications that come from our friends at the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. I'll talk over just a couple brief of the big points that we see before us, and then we have Commissioner Peterson to perhaps give us greater depth or detail about any of these individual initiatives. So first, we have a bunch of different definitions that occur within the bill. A definition of agrivoltaics, some other definitions that revolve around issues of invasive weeds and such. There is not currently a definition of agrivoltaics, so we're getting one now. There's also a technical clarification for special event food stands. It's a technical fix that simply clarifies that a special event food stand license, which is limited to only 10 days of operation during a license period between April 1st and March 31st, cannot be prorated or applied for after. There's also policy updates to retail food delegation. It's a technical update that would repeal statute 28A.075, which I'm sure will disappoint some of you because you care deeply about it. And there's a single clear statutory reference about delegating duties to local community health boards. There are also technical changes to align with AFP-FCO standards, definitions again that align with the American Association of American Plant Food Control officials, and the process that the industry has adopted nationally. So it's a consistency issue. Noxious weed law technical updates. These technical updates came from the Noxious Weed Advisory Committee, which reviews and suggests edits to maintain alignment with the law and current noxious weed inspection and enforcement practices. And that, members, is the sort of high points of this very simple, straightforward bill, with technical changes that came to us from our friends at the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, and with that, members, questions for Senator Putnam? Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, Senator Putnam, the noxious weed portion of the changes, what's the gist and what's the, what are we really trying to change?
Senator Putnam.
Mr. Chair, Senator Westrom, my take and my initial read was the frequent use of the word propagation, and that they're talking no longer just about the weed, but also those things that can grow the weed. But I think it's best that I stop talking right now, and our friends from MDA take over.
Sir, just identify yourself, and you may begin your testimony.
Sure, Mr. Chair. Anthony Cordelet, I oversee the noxious weed program at the Department of Agriculture. Senator Westrom, that's a great question. This was a work in maybe over the last 3 years by the Noxious Weed Advisory Committee. The law is old, and it's been, for lack of a better word, chopped apart over time, and the committee has felt that to clarify not only enforcement duties by our county and township partners, as well as how they list or make recommendations to the commissioner for listing noxious weeds, that technical changes be made throughout. For the majority of the law, there are very small technical changes. The biggest change that has come forward is the transport statute, 1882, where we did add 2 other permits to that.
Senator Westrom.
And Mr. Chair, can you expand on those 2 permits? What's the need to expand for more permits? And then I have another follow-up.
Cardelletti.
Yep, Mr. Chair, Senator Westrom. The probably most common permit we get asked for is for either research. So somebody at the university may be wanting to put in a patch of weeds to do research on so we can better learn how to manage those in the future, just as one example. And also for outreach materials. So, you know, a lot of county fairs, 4-H kids contact us. Hey, I want to bring some buckthorn, for example, and like a pressed specimen to show what it looks like and so on and so forth. We'll write them a permit so that they're admitting to, you know, taking good care of that while it's in transport so weed seed doesn't get out and spread somewhere. The historic transportation part of it is still in play, and we do still give some of those permits out, but we get far more requests for research and outreach.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, I guess just on the permit side of things, anytime I hear permits, my antennas go up, and it means, you know, frustration for constituents at a minimum. I guess I just raise that as a bit of a concern. Is there a different way we can do it than actually have a permit required by people displaying at the county fair? I get your point, but maybe there's, I don't know, it just seems like maybe that's a little too much. But my other question is, and it kind of relates into probably the transportation, but I get calls periodically from constituents with the DOT or the entity of a road ditch and the spraying that goes on, and some people, especially if they're organic farmers or have beehives or have other sensitive livestock or animals near the road, get concerned about not having notice or not knowing what was sprayed in the ditch to kill noxious weeds. And I guess I'm just raising this issue. How do we deal with that, and how do you deal with that now currently? What's the interplay between you and MnDOT and private citizens that want to know what is being sprayed to kill noxious weeds in road ditches and other easements like that?
Mr. Cardelletti.
Mr. Chair, Senator Westrom, that's a great question. Basically, the law doesn't require the spraying of weeds. It doesn't prescribe how you control or eradicate. So we don't particularly work with the spraying. However, this issue did come up last year with Senator Draheim, and another issue. We did talk about, there could be something similar to what we do with our general notice. So every May 15th of the year, the county has to publish in the county seat newspaper that noxious weeds need to be controlled. I suppose something could be done like that for notice of spraying in an area, but again, that's kind of out of my purview. It's just an idea.
Senator Westrom? Okay. Other questions? Thoughts, concerns? Senator Dorning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Putnam, just wondering, or maybe someone else want to answer it, but on page 12, section 21, it's a person applying for a license to operate a special event food stand must pay the entire specified fee. Just wondering where that came from, and if somebody wants us to explain that to us a little bit more.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
committee members.
Do you want to just state your name too for the?
Jeff Ludeman, Assistant Division Director, Food and Feed Safety Division, Minnesota Department of Agriculture. So, Mr. Chair, Senator, the special event license is a separate type of license than a food handler license. It's something that is in the Minnesota statute for Department of Health. It's a limited license limiting the number of days for 10 days within a licensing period, typically 10 days within a year. And so this proposal seeks to clarify that unlike the food handler license where we would prorate the initial license depending on what quarter the operator is in that licensing period, the special event, because it is 10 days within the license period, it would just be subject to the whole fee throughout the licensing period.
Senator Dornick? Any other members? Seeing none. Senator Putnam, any last kabam thoughts?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members.
Okay, and with that, then we will hold Senate File 4561 over. Which then brings us to Senate File 4586. And Stu Laurie and Elisa Yule, if you want to come on up and get ready to go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for a chance to talk about the down payment assistance program. Initially, I need to state also that there is another plan for doing some fixes to this that Senator Westrom and Representative Anderson have been talking through, and that since our intention is to lay this over, that there are future conversations to occur around this bill as well, but there's a lot of things that we got to fix, so we want to talk about some of those now. Mr. Chair and members, in 2023, this Ag Committee, the Minnesota Senate, created the Farmland Down Payment Assistance Grant Program. 439 people have applied to this program since its inception. 112 have been able to use this benefit to start a life in agriculture and to continue to contribute to our community and our economy. And as great as this program is, since implementation, we've noticed some serious challenges. And that's actually what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to start a program and then come back, look at it again, and make it better. And that's what we're trying to do right now. For example, the application deadlines have contributed to some valid and important applications being denied. And unfortunately, $800,000 of this program had to go back to the general fund instead of being used for the purpose that we decided it should be used. So clearly, we do have to fix some of these issues. Right now, farmers have 6 months or so to find land. Extending these deadlines will allow greater flexibility at the Department of Agriculture and greater success for this program and the farmers who can benefit from it. And we'd also like to keep this resource where it belongs, again, where we as a committee and as a state senate decided this resource should go. We'd also like to make sure that everyone who is able to benefit from this program and benefit all of us by participating in the ag community and economy can apply. So we'd like to alter some of the readiness requirements as we do on lines 1.16 to 1.18. We'd also like to establish a strategy of prioritization explained in lines 7.33 to 8.12. Members, as we know, we established this program. It's helping people. It's doing good. Today we're going to talk about how to make it do better. And we are lucky to have some great testifiers to explain that path to better with us right now.
Thank you, Senator Putnam. We will begin then with Stu Laurie. You can state your name and fire away.
Thank you, Chair Kupec and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Stu Laurie, Government Relations Director for Minnesota Farmers Union. And on behalf of our members, I want to thank this committee, thank Chair Putnam for your continued work to strengthen the down payment assistance program. This is a powerful program, not just for those who are selected to receive a grant, but also for our communities who benefit from these new businesses, these new farms that are opening up. We all know this here, but it's hard to earn a good living as a beginning farmer. Farms aren't hosting a retirement plan. The kind of promise of agriculture is you get to invest in this property, build equity, and build wealth through ownership of your land. That ownership also allows you to invest in infrastructure like fencing or water, invest in your soil, and invest in your community, as Senator Putnam talked about. So in creating this program, the legislature made that opportunity available to more farmers, and we are so appreciative. The challenge, of course, is that these grants are awarded, as so many are, based on a limited funding amount. They're awarded on a lottery, so not everyone gets a grant. So from our perspective, the most important thing is making sure that the funding that you all fought for in the Ag Committee last session for this next funding cycle goes out to support new farmers. So, that means some basic readiness requirements, which we thank Senator Putnam for putting in the bill, and also extending the timeline to make sure that everyone can use this. I know I just come from the House hearing. There's some good conversations there about moving something forward, and we very much hope that this continues to move forward here too. So thank you.
And Alyssa Ewell, did I?
Close.
Okay. Then correct me and begin your testimony.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Putnam and committee members. For the record, my name is Alyssa Isle, and I am the farmer at California Street Farm in Northeast Minneapolis. And I'm here today to testify in support of this bill on behalf of the Land Stewardship Project as an LSP member and a farmer. To give a little background on my farm, in 2025, in our 4th year of operation, we served hundreds of customers during our 25-week season at the Northeast Minneapolis Farmers Market and our on-site farm stand, which accepts EBT. In addition, we served over 100 families through our community-supported agriculture program. In 2026, we anticipate serving over 150 families with our spring, summer, and fall vegetable shares. Right now, on my rented 1/3 acre farm, I'm able to produce over $100,000 of sales, paying myself and my 3 seasonal employees a livable wage. Just to give you an idea, the price of city land for farming, the market value of this 1/3 acre plot, according to the Hennepin County property map, is $140,000. This is a program I'm hoping to take advantage of as I negotiate the purchase of 10 acres of land in Buffalo, Minnesota. The down payment assistance grant will make it possible for me to purchase farmland as a beginning and low-income farmer, even after running a profitable farm for the last 4 years. Most small-scale farmers know that grant funding is essential for capital investments without access to traditional funding as low-income farmers. In order to increase the success of this program, we want to make sure that applicants are ready and strongly support the readiness requirements in this bill. Personally, I have been working with an FSA loan officer and land access navigator for the last 4 months to prepare for the purchase of a farm and application for the down payment assistance grant. The emerging farmer advocates for MDA are working with folks like me, and we need more land access navigators and funding to support in order to get applicants ready for purchasing land. These policy changes will help to strengthen the program and help farmers like myself access land and support the next generation of farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Isle, and thank you for being kind, because I was not at all close. I appreciate that. Next up, Laura Schreiber.
Thank you, Chair Kupec and members, for the opportunity to testify. My name is Laura Schreiber. I'm the Government Relations Director for Land Stewardship Project. Thank you to Senator Putnam for bringing this bill forward and for the committee's historical support of the program. As we heard from Senator Putnam, this program has helped 112 farmers purchase their first farm, and know some tweaks are needed. We really support the adding readiness requirements for making sure applicants are in the best position to be successful with this grant and have a plan for their farm business. I've heard from several previous grantees that were not successful in finding land in the allotted time, that extending that timeline is one of the biggest things that we can do. Typically, folks have 6 months to find land, but if they're piecing together FSA loans and largely looking for land over the winter months, this can be a challenge. Last year, 37% of grantees who were not successful and were surveyed attributed that timing was why they weren't able to purchase land. So extending that deadline will be incredibly helpful. This program is incredibly crucial to supporting the next generation of farmers. As we know, land access is among the top barriers for farmers, and making these simple, common sense changes will strengthen this program. So thank you so much for your support, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, with that, we will go to member questions. Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, I guess to the testifier, I forgot her name on the land in the metro area. I mean, one of the difficulties with farmland and farming in the metro is there's a higher and better use for a lot of land, which of course is development and other things. So at what point does it make sense to compete with other higher and better uses, as they call it, kind of in the legal world and then the tax world? $140,008 just isn't going to pencil out on most agriculture. So how do you balance that when you're looking for property or land to be able to farm with? And I guess I got a follow-up question if you want to just kind of talk about that issue, because at some point that is, it might require moving to a more rural area to access more land at a better price. Is that ever in the equation?
Ms. Isle.
Yes, thank you. This is a great question. I think it's something that many farmers face when they think about where they want to buy land. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people in the city that we need to feed. And the further you get outside of the city, the longer that you have to drive to get there, meaning that the costs involved in driving into the city for many farmers who can't afford land, within an hour of the cities, means they're driving an hour to 2 hours multiple times per week to deliver vegetables to the city where they have consistent customers. Those costs are very high. Obviously gas is not cheap. It also means you have to maintain a delivery vehicle and drive into the city multiple times per day. So though land in the city is very expensive, there's very consistent customers in the city. And it makes sense for me to be an urban farmer in the city because I always know that I'm going to have the market for my vegetables there. And so for me so far, it's meant that I rent in the city, right? But when I'm looking at land, yeah, I think it's hard to think about figuring out how to afford land in the city, but there's plenty of costs and situations where customers are unreliable growing vegetables for, direct to consumer sales outside of the city. So it's a difficult question to answer.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, and I think you mentioned a third of an acre. Did you say a third of an acre for 140,000?
Ms. Isle?
Yes.
So what kind of crops would you grow on that? I mean, there are some high value return crops. I mean, strawberries, for example, is a pretty high return. I don't know if it cash flows that or not, but what kind of crops would you be looking on that? I mean, that's $450,000, just about an acre, 420. Or what kind of crops would you look at on that? And then have you looked at other parcels, 5 or 10 acres, and what kind of price do you find on them in the vicinity you're looking?
Ms. Isle.
Right now, I'm growing about 50 different specialized vegetable crops and cut flower crops, which I sell to my customers in CSA boxes, which is a mixed box that they pay for ahead of time that's distributed over 16 weeks in the summertime. So in the city, I can get about the highest value for any of those crops that I can. Those are heirloom tomatoes, mixed greens, eggplants, squash, all kinds of things, over 50 kinds of crops. For now, it makes sense because I'm renting, and I think the reason why we want to put forward this bill is because of the down payment assistance grant. Oh, and I'm looking in land in Buffalo because it is difficult to find land that's affordable in the city. So it's not so much about that. This grant will be helpful in all places.
Senator Westrom.
Just one follow-up. So you mentioned renting. Who do you, without giving away trade secrets, I'm not looking for something strategic. So if it's that, that's not what. But generally, who do you rent from? Like private landowners? Is it a city or government-owned parcel? And can I ask, what kind of rent do you have to pay for that value of land? And does it ever make sense to just keep renting if it's cheap enough rent compared to the purchase price?
Ms. Isle.
I actually rent 3 different plots from 3 different situations, so it's very complicated. I rent from a private landowner, I rent from an Islamic center, and I also rent from the city. They have varying different rental amounts. It makes sense for me at this moment.
Anything else? Senator Kunesh, did you have a question?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And when you started talking and you mentioned the name of your garden, I know exactly where that is in Northeast Minneapolis, and I frequent the Northeast Market all the time. I have a daughter that's got she's got a booth there too, and so I know exactly what your produce is like. And I think when we talk about the good of the community when it comes to things like this is that we don't often see agriculture so obvious in our communities when you're in the urban core. And you can bet that anybody that drives by or walks by gets a smile on their face when they see that. And we know that when you are bringing your produce to the market on Saturdays, that this is fresh. This is homegrown, fresh produce. It's bright, the nutrition is engaged in it. And I think that there are a lot of other benefits that we don't see or aren't tangible when we have these kind of businesses around us. And I think of, the social impact, the nutritional impact, the community transformation, if that lot is sitting there. And if you've lived in Northeast, oftentimes there were lots that were just sitting there and got filled with tires and junk and stuff like that. Why not transform it into something like this? And the fact that you're able to make a pretty good living and contribute to other people's earnings on such a small space is pretty remarkable. And so I think you're a really good example of how this money can be used and should be used to promote, agriculture and nutrition. So thank you.
Senator Holstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first off, to Alyssa Ewell, did I say that? Miss Isle. Took me a second, I apologize. We would love to have you in Buffalo. Please come to Buffalo. It would be great.
Working on it.
So reach out if you need any help scouting. Senator Putnam. I notice on line 16 of page 1, we have $1,000 in farm income as kind of the base to qualify. Is there a reason it's only 1,000? It felt kind of low, but I know before there wasn't a standard, so.
Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Holstrom, for the question. My understanding is that this is to create maximum potential access for people who are just starting. We want to make sure that people are just starting. And that's also part of why we're changing some of the readiness requirements. And I like that we're calling them readiness requirements, because we want to make sure that people who are getting started aren't held back by economic considerations because they have the expertise. The combination of those two things, that leavens the lower amount in my perspective, because we got people who know what they're doing already. They just don't have the money yet.
Senator Holmstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I will say at first it threw alarm bells off in my head, but then I saw that on page 3, lines 4 and 5, you had actually implemented some guardrails into the future that they have to prove that they are continuing to do so. And if I was only making $1,000 a year, 3 years in, I might not want to do it anymore. So they're incentivized to continue. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Unless you got to live in Buffalo, which would be worth it on its own.
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah.
Okay. Senator Putnam, anything else on this would you like to say? Oh, Senator Westrom, sorry.
So, Mr. Chair, just more of a comment, and maybe it's more than we want to dig into right now, but a few years back, working with the House, I don't quite remember where the policy ended up landing or where it's at today, but one of the things we talked about with urban ag, and maybe to the witness, they could just briefly inform us, do the cities or units of government make their land available? Because as I recall, we had some rider language in for Department of Agriculture and MnDOT to kind of do an inventory of idle land that could work for urban agriculture and make it available, rather than just sitting. Right-of-ways, long highways for future expansion. There's lots of reasons government owns parcels of land in the 3rd or 1 acre or 2 acre. So just briefly, maybe to the testifier, do you have any interaction with government parcels? And I guess I wonder how we're doing as a state, and if our departments are really trying to look up at find the inventory and get it out for rent, generate some income for the taxpayers, the state, but also make it accessible and put it to good use in the urban area. That seems to be a model that could complement agriculture. But any thoughts from the testifier?
Ms. Schreiber or Ms. Isle, whoever would.
I can comment.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Isle.
Thanks for the question. I would say at this point, there's lots of room for improvement. Working within the urban ag system for the last 5 years, there is a program through the city of Minneapolis where they rent out vacant lots that the city owns. Most of these are quite small, much smaller than my 3rd acre plot that I rent from a private landowner. Therefore, more suitable for community gardens than for commercial urban growing operations. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. There's plenty of vacant land and it should be utilized.
And I will take a minute to indulge. City of Moorhead has allotted some urban land that they own for some new Americans to start farming small plots within the city. So come on up to Moorhead too. Anything else, Mr. Chair?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair and members, for the spirited discussion. We know where the money's supposed to go. We just want to make sure that it gets there and helps people.
Sure,
So,
and I thank you for bringing this too, because we've heard, especially the part about having people that are ready to go, so that they're not like, we're kind of ready, and then they're not, and then the money doesn't get allocated and goes somewhere else. So we definitely want to keep this. It's a really great program. We want to keep it sustained. So thanks. we're laying this bill over just in case. Thanks.
We have three more bills, each of which will be laid over. Let's begin with Senator Kunesh, and Senate File 3864. Senator Kunesh, to the bill when you are ready.
All right. Ready?
Senator Kunesh, when you're ready.
All right. Well, thank you, Chair Putnam and members. I'm glad to present Senate File 3864, and this is to continue the work that this committee started last session. This last year, after the federal government cut over $3 million for popular local food purchasing assistant, or LFPA program, we stepped up and we created a state-funded program. However, we're only able to fund it at $700,000 per year. So this bill, it has a lot of text in it, but if you go to line 3.1, it adds $500,000 to the appropriation, bringing it closer to the historic funding amount. As a reminder, LFPA provides grants to organizations to purchase food from farmers who are working to build their business, and then to donate that food to communities in need. This creates a real win-win situation, supporting farmers with guaranteed contracts and then helping ensure that families get the food that they need. I am really proud that Minnesota was the first state to create this state program. It's keeping up with our reputation for helping farmers get started and build long-term success. I think that the wholesale agreements that this program supports really does indeed help farmers access a stable market where they can count on those sales. And particularly for beginner farmers, this can be especially helpful in providing financial stability during the early high-risk years of farming. Not only that, there are often some of the same folks who have historically missed out on market development opportunities and other forms of support from the federal and state government that would benefit from this program. So I'm not tied to the funding amount in this bill. In fact, I'd love to find much more, but the demand for this program is significant. In 2023, there were $5.9 million in requests, and in 2024, $4.9 million. And under current law, this next funding round will only have $700,000. That's nowhere near the need and the request. So I look forward to ongoing discussions with this committee about available funding. This surge of funding will strengthen a program that helps families who need a little strengthening, markets for farmers, and it's a real win-win for our state. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn to my testifier.
Thank you very much, Senator Kunesh. We have two testifiers who are remote right now, so it's, I guess perhaps beginning with them. Ms. Metalak, if you could please turn on your camera, unmute your microphone, state your full name for the record, and commence your testimony when you're ready.
There. Hi, my name's Mary Metalak. I am with Benson and Turner Foods Incorporated. We're a meat processing plant up north of Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, by Waubun, Minnesota. Some of you have visited us before. I would like to express my strong support for Senator Kunesh's bill to increase state funding for the Local Purchase Assistance LFPA program, SF 3864, by $500,000 or more. The importance of this funding that provides grants to organizations to purchase food from farmers to go to our community members that are in need has a direct impact on many levels. To demonstrate this, I'd kind of like to share our story with you on how these funds in the past have impacted our area. Red Lake, the Red Lake Indian Reservation, their ag department has received funding in the past, as well as the White Earth Food Shelf. In turn to that, they have contacted us here at Benson and Turner Foods to supply that product for them. Good, nutritious beef and pork. In turn, we go to the farmer. We buy from local farmers right in the area here. And at this time, we have purchased with over 18 different farmers. And many of these are emerging farmers that are building their businesses. In order to go forward, we employ businesses within our own community, or people within our own community, that helps the economic viability of our community by providing jobs. The next step from there is that the food gets distributed to the different tribes, who in turn take and make meat bundles. On a given day, when we go up to Red Lake, we put together 250 different meat bundles that goes to the families. Same is done on the White Earth Indian Reservation, where they take and go to each community and distribute the food. This, of course, helps our local economies, not just by meeting their nutritious needs, but it also opens up funding for the vitality of our economy, so that they're able to buy other things for their families, like clothes and transportation needs and educational needs. From there, that makes an impact at the state level, because when we're meeting the nutritional needs of our people, they are healthy. It helps reduce healthcare costs, which reduce costs to the states, which open up funding for the Minnesota committee, again, to put more money into LFPA.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Melick. We're running out of time, so if you could close up, that'd be great.
That was the end of it.
That worked out really well. Sorry for interrupting, and it's good to see you again. Thank you, Ms. Melick. Up next, we have Ms. Ledoux, also remote. Ms. Ledoux, if you could please turn on your camera, unmute your microphone, state your full name for the record, and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is April Ledoux. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the community. The JRLC asked me to testify in favor of FSF 3864. I'm the director of distributive services at Chum Food Shelf in Duluth, Minnesota. We do serve over 572,000 pounds of food last year at our food shelf. We had over 10,500 people that came in, and that's 2,000 new intakes that we did at just that time. With our services that we provide, we have a Monday through Friday. We have mobile pop-ups that we have for low-income high-rises. We also served to people who are just stuck in home, whether they're senior citizens, whether they just have mental health problems, or they may be larger families. So just being able to provide more food to them is such a more important thing that we could have at the food shelf that I work at. Our CSA program is a program that we purchase farm shares from local farmers. We did have 10, we're down to 7 right now. I had to cut 3 of them out because we were getting buggy, moldy produce from them. So it would be better if we did have, more resources like LFPA to help us with more funding. I buy 65 shares, which the total of that comes out to $44,000 to $46,000 a season. And that comes out of our money that we have to try to have some kind of fundraising for that. So we can have collard greens, bok choy, radishes, squash, and so much more to provide for families. Not only families, but it's also for people who are homeless. Then they can be able to eat a little bit more healthier. Excuse me. I was a single mom with 3 kids, and just trying to provide food on the table is so important and healthy. That's our main goal, And with all I said, I absolutely do love my job. I give my heart and soul into this job, and just to have better resources for a chance of better and healthier foods for people in need is such an amazing thing to have. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Ledoux. Appreciate your
I tried to make it
testimony.
quick, sorry.
No, well done. You did it. Spot on. Well done. Next up, we have Ms. Ahmed. Please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready, please.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank you, Senator Putnam, and the committee for the opportunity to testify support on behalf of the Land Stewardship Project. And thank you, Senator Kunesh, for bringing this bill forward. My name is Noura Ahmed. I coordinate Feeding Frogtown, a program of Frogtown Neighborhood Association in St. Paul. Feeding Frogtown provides free, healthy, culturally relevant foods through weekly meals and bi-weekly grocery-style distribution. We also deliver grocery to families who cannot safely or easily leave home. We focus on dignity, choice, and access. No ID requires. I have been coordinating Feeding Frogtown for past 4 years, working closely with the PIPAC and immigrant farmer. Each month, we serve more than 900 families. With the support from LFPA program last year, we were able to provide food for our community truly needed, such as fresh produce, culturally important vegetable, halal meat, organic eggs, grass-fed meat. This matters because fresh, highly quality food helps family cook healthy meals, improve nutrition, support a strong immune system, and help prevent diet-related illness. When food is culturally familiar, families are more likely to use it right away and cooked and build health routine at home. This program also strengthens Minnesota agriculture. By purchasing direct from Minnesota farmers, it creates reliable, fair market, especially for farmers who just getting started or who have limited market access. I also work as a farm business management specialist with Renew in the countryside. And I see every day how important a stable buyer from special crops grower. This supports both sides. Family gets food during when the grocery cost is very high. Farmer get dependent income and help sustain their business. Thank you again for your work, and I strongly support this bill because it builds healthier community and a stronger local food system for Minnesota.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. Very much appreciated. Members, do you have questions or comments for Senator Kunesh or testifiers? Seeing none, Senator Kunesh, do you have a closing statement?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all the testifiers. I think we've seen in the past, and based on the demand and the request for these dollars, this is a high-need program that really provides a lot of bang for its buck, and so I ask you all to support this bill.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Senate File 3864 will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you.
Senator Gustafson, Senate File 4066, Minnesota Grown Account Transfer, Increased Provision. Mr. Burkholz, are you here? If you could, please. Awesome. Thanks. Senator Gustafson, to your bill when you are ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee. The Minnesota Grown Program is a statewide partnership between the Minnesota Department of Agriculture and producers of Minnesota agricultural products. It's created in the late 1980s by specialty crop growers to differentiate their products. The program has become a trusted resource to connect producers and consumers. Minnesota Grown creates the online directory, which then connects Minnesotans directly to farmers, farmers markets, and other producers. And if you search through the directory, you will notice a wide variety. You'll find farmers markets, CSA farms, garden centers, wineries, fruit and vegetable growers, pick your own farms, livestock producers, meat processors, Christmas tree growers, producers of specialty products like honey, wild rice, cheese. The Minnesota Grown Program works really hard to provide members with marketing tools and resources. And so our bill is asks for an additional amount of funding. The bill increases the appropriation to Minnesota Grown from 186 to 261,000.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson. Mr. Burkholz, if you will please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sam Burkholtz from Pleasant Valley Orchard in Schaefer, Minnesota. On behalf of our business, the Minnesota Apple Growers Association and the Minnesota Farmers Union, I'm glad to share my strongest support for Senator Gustafson's bill to increase funding for Minnesota Grown, SF 4066. I also serve on the Minnesota Grown Advisory Board and can confirm that this funding will go to good use in helping local farmers grow their business. My family started Pleasant Valley Orchard 35 years ago when my parents purchased an old dairy farm and planted the first trees. Today that has evolved into 16 acres of apples, 5 acres of pumpkins, and a few acres of strawberries. We direct market all of our fruit and predominantly grow apple varieties that are developed here at the University of Minnesota. We're a very traditional orchard. We don't have a lot of bells and whistles. We do some levels of agritourism through tours and small events, but my goal first and foremost is to grow high quality fruit. We have diversified our business over the years by adding a bakery, and our most recent addition is serving hard cider that is made from our apples. During our fall season, we employ over 30 people part-time, and we have developed meaningful relationships with many of them. While we direct market our apples, others in the Minnesota apple industry compete with apples grown in and imported from Washington, Michigan, and other states. It can be hard to secure and defend space on the produce shelf when they're often able to beat us in price. That's where the Minnesota Grown program comes in. Their trusted brand helps consumers quickly identify our product and choose to support a local business. The Minnesota Grown program offers us a valuable marketing partnership. We can grow the best apples here, and we do, but the consumer doesn't always know about them or how to get to our farm. Minnesota Grown helps us to connect to consumers. We use the Minnesota Grown by participating in their directory, which reaches over 400,000 people per year. We use marketing assets developed by Minnesota Grown, such as in-season apple variety descriptions, seasonal statewide media marketing campaigns, and cost share on marketing materials. I know we're not the only ones that see value in this program. Participation has grown by 40% since 2007. That said, the funding level has remained stagnant since 2007 at $186,000 annually. I know that from running a business, the purchasing power of that $186,000 has been greatly diminished. We know consumers value and look for locally grown food. This investment adds value to small family farms like ours, and I hope it earns your support. Thank you, Senator Gustafson and Chair Putnam, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Burkholtz. Our next testifier is Ms. Seaman, who's online. Ms. Seaman, if you could please, you know the drill, if you would please turn on your camera, unmute your microphone, and state your full name, commence your testimony when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Putnam and members of the Senate Ag Committee. Thank you, Senator Gustafson, for bringing this bill forward. I am Kathy Zeman, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Farmers Market Association, a member and a volunteer secretary of the Minnesota Grown Promotion Group, and I serve on Minnesota Grown's Advisory Committee. As a direct marketing food farmer, I also am a paid member of Minnesota Grown, and I highly value the benefits of that membership. Minnesota Grown, on its tiny, decades-old original budget, has developed into a professionally managed, results-driven powerhouse of a marketing effort for Minnesota's local food shed. We recently went through a strategic planning process where we reevaluated our mission and our vision, decided to sunset some programs that data showed were underperforming, and then we prioritized current and new programs that the data shows are needed. Minnesota Grown needs additional funding to keep up with the tremendous growth of farmers in our local food shed. We have thousands of new farmers who could and should be Minnesota Grown members, learning from Minnesota Grown's educational webinars and using Minnesota Grown branded sales items that would help increase the farmer sales, their profitability, their thrivability, their entire communities. We are at an all-time high of 403 farmers markets in Minnesota, and our tribal nations with their 10,000 or so vendors. Our industry benefits from the marketing expertise and outreach of Minnesota Grown, but Minnesota Grown's research and reach is limited by their budget. I admire the resourcefulness and tenacity of Minnesota Grown staff who make the most of their limited budget to benefit the local food shed, but they are cash strapped. And so they are not fulfilling the needs of all the farmers and farmers markets in the local food shed, nor the needs and wants of Minnesota customers who really do want to know their farmer and support their local communities. Minnesota Grown is a proven, successful program that lives its mission and vision to serve the local food shed and has a huge growth opportunity ahead of it and just needs a financial investment to help make that happen. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Seaman. Members, questions for Senator Gustafson or her testifiers? Seeing none, Senator Gustafson, do you have a closing statement?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would just say that one of the things I love about this job is discovering things that you thought you knew but didn't. And this website is not something that I visited a lot before this bill, but there are, I would say, a really good directory of local farms that you can support, and then lots of recipes. So as I go home to think about dinner tonight, you can look up recipes on minnesotagrown.com. So check it out.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson, for the bill and the advertisement. Senate File 4066 will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you.
Members, our last bill for the day is Senate File 2431, Senator Kupec, Agricultural Land Trends Report. And Mr. Chenell, if you'd like to come up and take a seat and keep him company while he's talking. Senator Kupec, to your bill, please.
Sure. If it's okay with you, I would like to, I have an author's amendment, A3 amendment, that I would like to move first to get the bill in line.
Senator Kupec moves the A3 amendment to your amendment, Senator Kupec.
Sure. The first thing it does is it changes a bunch of dates, so it makes everything come out right. And then we added a second thing of interest in here for the report of things that we're going to look at in terms of uses for non-agricultural purposes of ag land. So that's the second part that we added in.
Members, questions or comments about the author's amendment, Senate, for A3? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The amendment is adopted. Now, Senator Kupec, to your underlying bill, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. Senate File 2431, which will direct the Department of Agriculture to prepare a report on farmland trends in Minnesota. The goal of this is to take a first step towards ensuring that farmland stays available to our state farmers. We've all been on this committee and heard from farmers about the increasing prices of farmland and the pressure that puts on families. Certainly no one has ever implied that it is affordable. This creates challenges for beginning farmers, as we've heard today, who want to own farmland that they work, ensuring that they can benefit long-term investments in the soil and in the infrastructure. It matters for established farmers as they balance their tax burden. And it matters to farmers who are nearing the end of their career because it makes it harder for them to pass on farmland to the next generation. For farmers owning farmland, it's important because it's the principal way they build equity, reinvest in their businesses and their community, and ultimately achieve financial security. That's why this committee has invested time and money in building programs like the down payment assistance grants, beginning farmer tax credit, and farmland access navigators and other programs. But prices continue to climb, and we're committed to understanding more what we can do to address this issue. This request for a report does not prescribe or presuppose any particular solution from this committee or the legislature. Instead, I hope it will give us more detailed information that can inform our work. It's also important that it won't include any impersonal, identifiable education. And I thank you, and I believe we have Mr. Chenell here.
We do. Mr. Chenell, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Putnam. For the record, Alex Chernell. I'm the Public Policy Manager with the Minnesota Corn Growers Association. Really appreciate the opportunity to testify on Senate File 2431, and Senator Kupec for bringing the bill forward. Senate File 2431 would give policymakers and the public a better picture of the direction of agricultural land use. Farmers are often thinking about land access, and while farmers, often will own a portion of their farm, many are also renting acres, and they're seeing prime farmland being sold or rented at rates that are out of reach, especially for young and beginning farmers. And increasingly, this land is being sold or leased to developers for non-agricultural use, including for housing developments and for large utility-scale solar. Minnesota Statute 17.8 states that it is the policy of the state to preserve ag land and conserve its long-term use for food and agricultural production. And it also states that we should minimize the use of agricultural land for energy production. Lawmakers recognize that high-quality agricultural land is a finite resource and that we should preserve it for its long-term use. Senate File 2431 would be a step in the right direction toward understanding the changes that are happening on Minnesota's farmland and the pressures that farmers are facing accessing new land, as well as the pressure that agricultural land is under that is removing it from being used for agricultural production. I want to thank the committee for the opportunity to testify, and again, thank Senator Kupec for bringing the bill forward.
Thank you, Mr. Trinnell, for the clarity of your presentation and the speed with which you spoke. We have two testifiers still who are online. Let's begin with Ms. Thomas, if you could, please. Please turn on your camera, unmute your microphone, state your full name for the record, and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Melanie Thomas. I am a certified organic producer in Clay County. Senator Kupec and Putnam has had the chance to visit my farm, so thanks for taking me up on that offer. And other members of the committee, you're more than welcome to come on out, or as the Price is Right is, come on down. On behalf of myself and Minnesota Farmers Union, I'm glad to share my support for Senator Kupec's bill to direct the Minnesota Department of Ag to complete a report on land trends in our state. Or after I read it, I wanted to call it the who, what, when, where, and why bill. So it will kind of help hopefully give us an insight to things such as, investors that to, quote, buy farmland as a better return than the stock market for them. And as Senator Kupec mentioned before, it's not a solutions type of bill, but it helps to provide insights and how we could better our other programs, such as the Beginner Farmer Tax Credit, even the Farmland Down Payments Assistance Program, things like that. So I'm just here to support that and, and better access for numbers that we can get between beginning farmers and established. So thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Thank you much, Ms. Thomas. Good to see you again, and thanks to you for your testimony. Up next, Ms. Olson, if you would, please. Please turn on your camera, unmute your microphone, state your full name for the record, and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Cool. Thank you, Chair Putnam and members. My name is Taylor Olson. I'm a beginning farmer in Taylor's Falls. And I'm here today to share my support of this bill on behalf of the Land Stewardship Project. I'm a member of the Land Access and Emerging Farmers Steering Committee. And I'm happy to say, like the other testifiers here, there's quite a few folks pleased to see this bill brought forward. And thank you to Senator Kupec for introducing it during such a critical time for farmland. As we know, there will be thousands, if not millions, of acres exchanging hands in the next 10 to 15 years in Minnesota as farmers are either retiring or phasing out of farming. And like has been mentioned, over the last several years, there's been an influx of projects that are converting farmland to solar farms, data centers, housing developments, and it's important to understand and quantify these land use changes. It's also important to study the land trends as we're seeing increased consolidation in farmland ownership. And the number of farms in Minnesota continues to decline each year and smaller operations are absorbed. It's critical for our state to understand and have data on current land trends, how land is being financed, and with this, what I'm most excited about is to create recommendations for the future so that we can protect farmland and support the next generation of farmers getting access to land like me and farmers like Alyssa who spoke earlier. Having this data helps the legislature to make the best possible choices to serve the farmers of Minnesota. And ultimately, we're looking forward to the legislative recommendations, ensuring that this agricultural land is available to farmers. And we ask that stakeholders from farm organizations that serve small and mid-sized farmers are included in the process to help identify opportunities and policies. Thank you for your time and support.
Thanks much, Ms. Olson. Members, let's talk about this one a little bit. We got Senator Westrom.
Sure. Mr. Chair, Senator Kupec, would this include land purchases or sales to entities or foreign countries? I guess what I'm really trying to get at, a few years ago we had a hearing, it's been I guess over 4 years ago because I was chair, but just on land sales, the corporate farm law, and a lot of concerns. We were hearing from farmers that China was buying up land or other countries. And would that be included in this report? I think so, but it's not explicitly called out, so I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Senator Westrom, my understanding is that that's currently illegal, selling land to foreign countries, but Commissioner Peterson, would you like to address that more explicitly? And also the second part of that question, to take Senator Westrom's question seriously, would be to Senator Kupec about how that would matter within the context of this specific bill.
Mr. Chairman and members, two comments on that is something that could be a part of this, is what, I was told, and then looking at the language. And then, and just a reminder about our corporate farm law in our alien ownership law in Minnesota does forbid foreign ownership of farmland. And so, if we are notified of that, we do go and investigate that, but we're not, aware of any Chinese-owned land. There was a couple of parcels that are actually being divested. So when we're notified, we go and talk to them, and then they have usually a year to divest of that land. What happens a lot of times is ag land in Minnesota ends up being foreign-owned, not directly. It might be somebody who had an investment in something. And so they besides farming, they own a widget factory, and the widget factory invested, with somebody from China. And so they default, and they had that as collateral. So then we get notified of that, and then we tell them they have to divest, and it really hasn't been an issue. We do have, the law was passed in the 70s. We still have some land that was grandfathered in, because of that law. So we do have, I think, the strongest law of any state in the union that addresses that. But it could be something we could also address in that.
Thank you, Commissioner Peterson. I think that sounds like a good idea. My understanding from when we talked about that in this past was that sometimes folks think that that's more likely to occur because North Dakota is not as strict as we are. There's South Dakota, one of the Dakotas, other states actually do kind of enable some of these purchases. And when their advertisements are on the border, sometimes people in Minnesota think that this is something that is occurring because it is occurring in the neighboring state. Is that a fair characterization, Commissioner Peterson?
Mr. Chairman, to a point, I'd say it'd be in other southern and other parts of the country where where I've seen purchases where they've been trying to address this and everything too. And other states have some kind of law on the books, but not as strong as ours, anywhere near as strong as ours. And I think ours stands up to the test.
Senator Westrom.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, and Commissioner Peterson, Senator Kupec. I just raise it because it seems like a good thing to be included in this, and Commissioner Peterson's wording was it could be. I just wonder if you'd be open to it, and I don't have the exact language right now, but just maybe more explicit language that should be a part of what's included in this report. I don't think it's happening because of our farm law, but if it is, I guess if we're looking around, I'd just as soon we get that report and find out about it. But Commissioner Peterson, is there a workaround if a foreign country buys land but doesn't farm it, just buys it and holds it, just lets it sit idle because if they farm it, then it would be illegal, or is that still forbidden?
Commissioner Peterson.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Westrom, a couple of comments on that. To me, there isn't necessarily a workaround. There's exemptions, and so a couple, or one that I know of is it would be test plots for some of the companies that are foreign-owned that are pretty well known, whether that's a Syngenta or something. Where they're doing tests in Minnesota, so they may be renting land, and so we do exemptions on that and watch that very closely. But there is, and Senator, kind of to your point though, it is kind of a hot topic or issue because a lot of other states are addressing this issue, and so we do get asked a lot about it. So it probably would be, in the report, as Senator Kupec points out, there is places where I think it gives us a lot of latitude, and I think that we would, it'd be something we would, comment on or put in. But
thank you, Commissioner. Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Senator Commissioner Peterson and Senator Kupec. I just between now and Wednesday, maybe we could just have explicit language briefly in there. Would you be open to something like that? Just just not leave it to chance, and I believe Commissioner Peterson in his department would do it. But I just think it would be a worthy piece to have included, just as a part of it, because I think it's a valuable report that would come back if you'd be open to it.
I think that sounds like a pretty good idea. Senator Kupec, do you have feelings?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Westrom. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think also, we want to make sure, particularly, I think, around with the fact that we have strong corporate farm laws, we also want to make sure that we were curious, I think, in this report to see are investors coming in and using farmland as an alternative speculation device, which only drives up the price higher. And I think we'd also like information around that. So absolutely, if you want to spell that out more specifically, I think that was definitely one of the things we are interested in getting at with this report.
Last question, Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom.
I don't see in the language a dollar amount. What's the cost of the report? And then just a technical, but Commissioner Peterson can weigh in. I see January 1st is the due date. Session's not back in quite then. I'm wondering if January 15th makes more sense. Just knowing the holidays at the end of December, it's always a bad time to have a report due on January 1st, I think, but just thought might be good to have at the beginning of session, but maybe January 15th instead of January 1 gives them a couple of weeks right after the holidays to finalize it, as an idea.
Commissioner Peterson.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Westrom, 2 comments on that. Actually, on those, I prefer February 15th, January. No, I am serious. Like, we have done this and worked on this. By the way, the department does a lot of reports, and I do hope they get read because our staff works very hard on them, and you can find them on the front page of or on the legislative site of our website. But our staff and being over the holidays and everything, January 1st is a tough time. And so over the years, the legislature has moved more on our reports to get them into February. And so if you were going to change it, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Senator Kupec about that, but we would do that. And then on the money, money is helpful. And I say this many times, I've been doing this forever. If you give us $10,000, you're going to get a $10,000 report. You give us $50,000, you're going to get a $50,000 report. We do a lot of reports. They do take time and effort, and we try to use the taxpayer dollars wisely and putting those together. So appreciate whatever would come with that. And if we could move the date, if there's a chance, I think it is helpful.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. Are you still going? All right. Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I see that the appropriation is left blank, and I see there's not a fiscal note. What kind of dollars are you looking at for this process?
Commissioner Peterson.
I ask you first.
Sure. Well, Senator Putnam, Senator Dames, I would say what we, I think as the commissioner just said, depends what kind of report you want. A more expensive report gets you a better report. Also depends what we have to work with for dollars. So purposely was left blank. If we don't have much dollars and we feel like we could do a decent report for a small amount of money, sure. If we feel like we have a little bit more and we want to spend more to get a much better in-depth look at it, then sure, let's do that. I think we just know that the dollars are tight, and we're just trying to provide a little flexibility here.
Senator
Follow
Kupec.
up, Mr. Chair.
Certainly, Senator Dames.
Senator Kupec, is there some reason you didn't get a fiscal note so you'd have some idea of what you might want to have for an appropriation, what it might cost, and if the Department of Agriculture was willing to do it for nothing or do it at a certain amount? Is there some reason we didn't do that?
Senator Kupec?
Sure. I will defer to whether the Department of Agriculture wants to do it for nothing. There is a cost to whatever these things that we do, I'm sure. But we left it purposely open for discussion with the department to see what they wanted for a dollar amount.
Senator Dames.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dames.
And thank you for the comment. Thank you for that information, but I didn't hear why you did not request a fiscal note so you would know what the cost would be.
Senator Kupec.
Sure. I think we were just looking for, flexibility, not knowing what this committee was going to have. If we may have nothing to absolutely spend on it. So I think we were just trying to be as flexible as we could. But I think maybe Commissioner Peterson can comment on what he thinks a low end or a high end dollar amount would be. But
Commissioner Peterson.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, You know, I just really hesitate, like you know, on costs. And so the bill does allow for us to contract out. And so a lot of these, reports, in this case too, we may look at doing an RFP and looking at, you know, a lot of this data is there. It's putting it together and different pieces like that. But anytime we put out an RFP for a report, and some of the ones we've done, like last year and the year before, a couple of years, you know, are usually in the 25 to 100 range, 100,000 range. It's hard to do it for nothing, you know, with staff time and everything else. Most of the reports do require us to talk about the staff time and money put into it. So again, you know, cognizant, you know, the staff all have things that they do, and we do have staff that are, you know, work on these issues too and everything, but it is helpful to have some dollars. But again, we'd have to be glad to work with the senator on that, though.
Senator Dames? Good. Senator Kunesh?
Just a really quick request. Will you also include in there any, let's say, farmlands that have been purchased by data centers, or any that are perhaps being looked at to be purchased by data centers, how much acreage that is, and I don't know how in-depth this report goes, but I'd be curious to find out where these might be, or the potential might be, as well as any kind of water sources that they would be accessing and proximity to other farms around them.
Senator Kupec?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Kunesh. I think, yeah, with the amendment, that was part of the idea of that was to look at beyond just the agricultural trends in the land. I know large-scale solar right now, there's a lot of concern about prime farmland and that, but absolutely data centers too, where they're locating those sometimes out in rural areas on prime farmland is also a concern. So I think we would look at any and all buyers of farmland, large-scale like that.
Senator Kupec, do you have any closing statements?
No, thanks for the discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to take a few of these amendments. I'm happy to move it to February. I want our agriculture department employees to have a wonderful holiday season and not be worried that this report's hanging over their head and be cursing my name around the holidays. That stupid Kupec made us do this report instead of having a nice Christmas. Sure, I do not want that to be certainly a legacy of me that I ruined Christmas by any means. So
give them other reasons to hate you.
So happy to make those changes. But I think it's good data, and again, you know, the open-endedness of the dollar amount is just because not sure where we have money to spend, but I do think it is worthwhile data. I think it would help this committee make good and better decisions down the road, knowing what these expenses are going towards.
Thank you, Senator Kupec. Senate File 2431 as amended will be laid over for possible conclusion. So, folks, here's the thing. We got a couple fun days coming up on Wednesday of this week. We will walk through, mark up, and pass our policy omnibuses. Senate File 4561. Members, the DE has already been posted, has been for a couple days, so you know what's in it already. Written testimony is encouraged. Wednesday, April 8th, we will, when we come back from legislative break, we have a split meeting between Vets Subcommittee and the full Agricultural Committee. They will be separate hearings within the same period, maintaining our promise to keep these jurisdictions distinct. Seeing no further business before the committee, we're now adjourned.